Hey all, thank you for joining. Okay. We will get started in a moment. Is everyone able to hear me? No issues with the sound? That's great. So thank you all for joining the IT support with cybersecurity information and Q&A session. Really good to see some familiar names in the chat. So this session will be running over the course of the next 45 minutes to an hour, and I'll just be going over just the bootcamp, some curriculum stuff, and the application process. There'll be a chance to ask questions at the end. And just a quick introduction for those of you who may not have met me yet. My name is Dan. I'm part of the admissions team here at Generation, and my role is to support applicants throughout the application process from start to finish. So I'll be kind of your main point of contact throughout your application. So I will go ahead and pass this through. So who are we at Generation? Generation are a charity who prepare, place, and support people into life-changing jobs through our skills boot camps. We serve people who are facing potential challenges in their lives and barriers to employment, supporting them into roles they otherwise wouldn't have access to. Here you can see where we are based. So the majority of our programs take place in these regions. So Yorkshire, London, West Midlands, Greater Manchester, Ireland, and Scotland. And for this particular ITS bootcamp, we are recruiting in Scotland as well as Yorkshire, West Midlands, Greater Manchester, and London. So just some key stats around our impact. So to date, we've managed to support 1,700 people and plus into jobs. Our bootcamp graduation rate is around 90%. 80% of employers say graduates outperform their peers. So once they're in the role, they are not just getting into those roles, but they're actually excelling in places that others necessarily aren't. 83% of our graduates are still in their jobs after a year, and 2 out of 3 of our graduates have been promoted in the last year. So the eligibility criteria for this IT support bootcamp, most of this, if you have already done the eligibility check of your application, would have been picked up. But essentially, you need to be aged 19 and over if, as of the 31st of August, if you are based in England, and aged 18 and over if you are in Scotland. Need to be resident in one of these areas, so London, West Midlands, Yorkshire, Greater Manchester, if you're applying from England. And if you're in Scotland, then you need to be in Glasgow City Council, Renfrewshire Council, or East Renfrewshire Council. Not currently in education, training, or employment, with the exception if you're on a 0 hours or part-time contract, as long as it's 15 hours or less, then doesn't clash with the bootcamp schedule, that's fine. If you're in a fixed-term contract that ends before the bootcamp start date of September 29th, that's also fine. You need to have the legal right to work and live in the UK, and we ask that visa holders should have 15 months until visa expiry. If your visa is coming up to renewal and you started that process, then we can work with you just to check that's in place ahead of the bootcamp starting. Currently, we're not able to support applicants with student visas, graduate visas, skilled worker visas, and youth mobility visas. Simple reason there being just that those all require sponsorship, which at this time we are unable to provide. And you need to have lived in the UK or EA for the past 3 years if you are based in England. In terms of the bootcamp itself, so in our full-time interactive bootcamp, you'll gain the technical and soft skills you need to become an IT support professional. And at the end of the bootcamp, we will help you with your application to employers who are hiring. And that employment support will go over more detail towards the end of the session. But here on the right-hand side, you can see some of the key steps along the application process. So there's a registration and eligibility, completing group and interview stage. Once you've done the interview, we will review it. And once we've reviewed it, we'll get in touch to let you know some outcome. And if you're successful at that stage, we'll invite you to come chat with someone from our support team. That conversation is just for us to find out a little bit more about your support needs and how we can do our best to meet those, should you be successful. And then once that's done, it's just a case of waiting to hear about the final outcome of your application. If your application is successful, we'll then do the onboarding with the aim to start the program on Monday, the 29th of September. So here you can see a few more details. So IT support with cybersecurity, it is a 9-week bootcamp, as mentioned, starting 29th of September, and it runs from Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. So it's full-time and remote. You'll see here some of the kind of things that will be covered. So diagnosing, troubleshooting, and resolving common incidents related to hardware, software, and more. Navigating ticket management systems and manage tickets effectively. Things like Jira, which are probably the most used software in terms of ticket management currently in the industry. And demonstrating effective communication when working with customers. So again, IT support is still showing some growth. We see more than 24,000 entry-level yearly vacancies across the UK. And the kind of applicants who tend to excel in this role are good at problem solving and enjoy explaining details to others, enjoy working with people, have a willingness to learn, and show good adaptability. So being able to be flexible in a lot of different situations. So the accessibility of our boot camps are one of the big draws. So generation programs are completely free, and they support during and during the 9-week, as well as a 6-month post-program support when we try to help you get into that first entry-level job. Like I said, there's remote delivery, so for the most part, you will be accessing it from home. There may be in around London, depending on the funding, there could be a chance that in the future that will require a week of in-person class. But at this time, it's still fully remote, and if that changes, then we will let you know. Laptop and Wi-Fi provided if required, so equipment lending. We also provide webcams for the duration of the boot camp, free of cost if you need one. And like it says here, J3420, students will continue to receive benefits / universal credit while on the course. We work with the job centre to make sure that you can continue earning while that's in place. The only case where this isn't the same thing is in Ireland, where Ireland specifically has you need to be earning benefits for a certain amount of time to keep qualifying. But as in England and Scotland, then there's no issue there. You can continue earning while on the boot camp. Mod Arifin, there'll be some time at the end for some questions as well. And the ex-lurker, so if you are successful getting on the bootcamp, we have you fill out a tech form, and that's just a form where you can specify which equipment you require, and then that is sent out by someone on our side. And like I said, you'll have that for the duration of the boot camp. So the other side of why generation is because we've have a proven track record of being effective. So we're not focused on just giving skills. There's a real focus here on actually building a career. So long time, full-time, permanent jobs is our aim. We have a great team that connects learners to pre-existing jobs, whether it's through our own partners, directing to relevant job boards and working to essentially find as many opportunities as possible and give you the best chance at pursuing those opportunities. And like it says here, we don't just focus on the skills to do the job, so the technical side, the communication skills, but we also focus on the behaviors and mindsets to prepare for a career-driven approach. And I'll go over a little bit more detail what that means later on in the slide. And here, again, we can just see a little bit more information on what our boot camps look like. So delivery is instructor-led. Our instructors come from a background in the industries to ensure that the information you're learning is up to date and relevant to the role as it is being done today. Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. Sessions take place over Teams. So each morning you would join. You'll be met with your instructor and the other learners where they'll introduce the what you'll be covering that day, and then over the course of the day you'll work towards those goals. And then again, will be a little bit more information later on what that structure necessarily looks like. So for the employability support, that is the 6-month phase after graduation. So you'll be meeting with them on a week-to-week basis, and you'll be doing employability sessions, support with CV, cover letters, mock interview supports. They'll connect you to hiring employers, support you with, make sure you're prepared for interviews, connect you to relevant job boards. And in general, once we ideally secure that first entry-level role, you'll continue receiving that support as we transition it into employment. So the expectations for the learners side here is that to graduate the program, you need to have at least 90% attendance. Our expectation is 95%. So really be going into this with a mindset that you need to be fully present for the Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. The 9 weeks, it's quite a short, intensive process, and we want to make sure that you're learning everything you need to. Camera on to engage in class environments. So a lot of our skills are taught through interactive sessions, group work, and there is an expectation that all learners will have their camera on for the full 9 weeks. And in general, just having a full commitment to the boot camp. So again, you can see here kind of the 3 pillars that make up the program. So the behaviors, that customer focus, communication, working in a team, your adaptability in the workplace, the mindset, so personal responsibility, being able to take ownership of your own time and workload, showing a growth mindset, always willing to learn and improve, and having future orientation and persistence. So once you're in the role, you start having an idea of kind of where you want that role to go for you in terms of professional development. Whether it's additional certifications, management pathways, specializations, that kind of thing. And down below, you can see some of the more technical skills that you'll cover. So in general, diagnosis across a variety of software, hardware, mobile devices, networking, security, maintaining different networks and systems, comprehensive notes for all customer incidents, ticketing. So in general, the way it'll work is you have access to a ticketing platform like Jira, where you would each day access the various tickets, and we'll show you how to, in general, keep track and update that so that anyone you're working with might know what's going on with the workload that you're handling. Moving on to the next. So again, typical day in our classroom. At 8:45, you would log in or report an absence if you're not able to make it that day. At 9, you have the daily opening. So that's when the instructor joins and I'll let you know what you'll be covering. You'll see that new topic presentation from instructor at 9:30. You'll have a first break at 10:30. Customer focused role plays take place at 11. So that's, like I mentioned, the interactive sessions where you're actually applying the skills you're learning through group work and just interactive work in general. Then at 12:30, you would break up for lunch. Lunch is a full hour. Once you come back, you do some case study discussions. So talking about scenarios and going over what was done well, what could be done better, and in general, applying the knowledge that you're learning over the course of the boot camp. At 2:30, you have the CV workshop. So just working on your CV. Once that's done, complete labs on test out. So this is a technical platform where we have some of the assessments that you'll be doing just to keep track of your progress over the bootcamp. At 4, you'll do your daily reflections. So going over what you did that day, what went well, what could have gone better. And then at 4:30, you have office hours where you'll get a chance to actually speak one-to-one with the instructor or the supports and just go over anything that might be giving any doubts before closing up for the day at 5. So in terms of mentorship and support, so we can go over that a little bit more in detail now. So on our program support, so we have a great support team who specialize in supporting adult learning experiences, helping you stay motivated and setting goals, developing your employability skills, and just providing overall pastoral care and individual well-being. So pre-boot camp, what that looks like is we will connect and find out how you want to develop professionally and navigate any personal circumstances you might have. So to give you examples of how this may look. So in general, the conversations we have are around things like learning difficulties, any dependents. So if you have any children or any adult dependents in your life that we need to be aware of just to work around while you're on boot camp. If there's any adjustments you need to make in terms of, if you need additional time or things like that. Whatever it is that could make potentially the boot camp better for you, and just to ensure that if we are bringing you on the boot camp, we are providing the best setting for you to be successful. Once you're on boot camp, you'll have dedicated one-to-one sessions. And again, that's goal setting, motivating you, and in general, just keeping track of your understanding of the role you want and how to develop your employability readiness to work towards those goals. And then post-boot camp, again, you'll continue having that support there. In this case, getting ready for interviews, supporting with your independent job search, that kind of thing. What will you learn? So here you can see the curriculum for the IT Support Bootcamp. I won't go over this too much just because it's all pretty comprehensive. This session will be recorded. So if at any point you want to go back and revisit this slide, you'll get a chance to do that as well. But as you can see here, each week kind of will focus on various behavioral skills and mindsets, as well as different roles. So week 1 is, of course, just introduction to IT as a role and the fundamentals and some of the customer support skills needed. Workplace strategies comes into place week 2, and you can see from week to week, we are slowly ramping up and doing more and more of those case studies, role plays, labs, knowledge articles, until the end where you will have your final assessment on week 9. Week 10 is, of course, after the bootcamp finishes. That's when we start looking into your placement phase focus, interview preparation and career coaching, and in general preparing what the next 6 months or so as we work towards getting you that first entry-level role looks like. And that placement phase, you can find out a little bit more information here. So it's post-program support plan tailored to individual needs, and you'll have one-to-one and group coaching and interview preparation. You'll be connected with hiring employers and interview for jobs. For place graduates, support with transitioning into work, and for job-seeking graduates, you'll get ongoing employability support. So in an ideal world, what we would like applicants to consider this an extension of the bootcamp. So usually the more committed you are during this process, the quicker and the better the results you see are. But in general, you'll have that full support there for 6 months, even once you find that first entry-level role. And what does a career in IT support actually look like for you? So the soft skills and the technical skills needed can be kind of summed up to this. So on the soft skills side, it's customer support, it's problem solving, communication, building relationships with clients, working with experts, vendors, and specialists to resolve incidents, being proactive, and having a good attention to details. So an example I like to give here is when you're in an IT support role, you tend to work with a wide variety of individuals. So their ability range can go from someone who uses computers every day and they're very comfortable using computers. If you tell them, I need you to go into the BIOS and make a change, they'll know exactly what you mean and they'll get it done. No hassle. On the flip side, you might be dealing with someone else who has the exact same issue, but their knowledge isn't that strong. They might deal with computers, but to the extent that they send an email, use Word, Excel. So you'll have to break down that same solution in a way that person will understand. So that customer focus in that sense is just being able to be adaptable, showing empathy, having patience, and being able to recognize that each person has kind of a different level of ability, and you need to be able to tailor your approach based on that. In terms of the technical side, so again, resolving computer software and hardware incidents, maintaining operating systems, applications, and networks, and using platforms such as web chat, email, phone calls, Jira for login tickets, and creating solutions for issues. So these are all very broad in terms of the things covered. And as you can see there, what we're seeing at the moment is starting salary for entry-level roles is around 25K, with graduates progressing within 2 to 3 years into roles around that 35K range as specialists. And that career progression kind of looks something like this. So in general, you tend to start off as an IT support technician / engineer, or what they would call as first-line support. And this is where your responsibilities are troubleshooting mainly, diagnosing and triage of tech issues, and just keeping track of those tickets. Within a year or two, you can see progression into a senior IT technician / engineer role. So second line support, where you start taking on more advanced cases, start having more ownership over the process. And from here on, this is kind of a great foundation for breaching off into various areas. So this is just one example. So network engineering, if you want to pursue that, there are further qualifications out there, and having that first and second line support is a great foundation to build off to network engineer. On the flip side, if you want to continue working along that first line support, second line support, there are management pathways available, but in general, we start seeing those roles get into 40K, and then on the management level, start going 50K and above. So I've covered in general the bootcamp, the kind of support you can expect to receive, and the kind of outcomes that we currently see graduates get. So this is kind of just a little brief to help you figure out if IT support is for you. So if you're asking for yourself if this is a job that you would be good in, then just take a look at these points. Do you feel energized helping people? Do you enjoy a varied and interested workload? So in general, no 2 days are the same. Issues change and evolve all the time. New softwares are adopted, new hardwares. Older softwares and hardwares are phased out. The industry is constantly changing, which is why we still see growth and opportunities available in the sector because the industry is constantly evolving. So this is something that interests you and you want a job where the pace, it can be fast paced, but you're not ever going to get bored by doing the same work. This is a great opportunity for that. You're motivated by problem solving and can think of solutions. So in general, being a logical thinker. You value being a generalist with a broad range of knowledge and skills. So again, great foundational steps, great opportunities to progress into various specializations. This is always a good place to start. You like evolving in a supportive team, and you know that tech is the future, but you're not sure where to begin your career. So one of the things we want to provide with this program is for those people who have always had an interest in tech, whether you've been the go-to person in your family to help troubleshoot, phone and laptop issues, or you grew up tinkering around with computers. You played games and you made your own computers over the years. And you've thought, I enjoy this and I want to do more stuff like that. But you've never known, maybe university wasn't an opportunity for you, or you didn't have the opportunity to do that following school. This is a great opportunity to kind of open a door for that sector for yourselves. Finally, just to go over a little bit of the application process. So in general, we try to streamline as much as possible. I know it can be a little long at times, but that's just to ensure that we're getting the best picture of the applicants and finding, people who are motivated and would benefit from being on program. So once you complete the short online application form, that's your details, eligibility, just to check that it all meets our funding requirements. You are then asked to do an IT literacy test. If you're successful with the IT literacy test, you'll then be invited to a group task and interview. We'll review the interviews and then we'll reach out once you're successful with the interview to invite you to a support chat. So that's a 30-minute chat with one of our support workers. And that's just what I was mentioning before about learning a bit about what kind of needs you might have going into the program, so that we can create the best environment for you. And the key dates here are this. So program starts on Monday, the 29th of September. Offer letters will go out around the week of September 9th. So specifically, we're looking to send them out around the 12th, so the Friday, the 12th of September. And outcomes in general will be between the 12th and the 19th. So in that week is when you should receive final outcomes to find out if you've been successful getting on the boot camp. Okay, so that kind of concludes the session. I will ask if there's any questions, feel free to ask them now. For anyone who maybe doesn't have time to stay, I'm going to drop my email here in the chat so that you can email me directly, but happy to answer the question. So Akbar, you've asked how much self-study is expected outside the 9-to-5 schedule. Would we have assistant or support available outside the class hours, like any study groups, community group, or peer sessions with classmates? So there's no expectation of self-study outside the 9-to-5 schedule. The boot camp is pretty inclusive in that regard. The boot camp's pretty inclusive in that regard, in that we don't expect you to necessarily need to do any work outside of it. There's no like official study groups or anything, but we're always happy to facilitate that if learners want to get together and kind of talk about the work they're doing. That's absolutely an opportunity to do that. So Jack, you've asked if I could repeat the name of the software used for ticket management. So this is just one of the softwares covered, but the name of the software is Jira, and I've put that there in the chat for you as well. Satanic Lower, you've asked if we have appointments during the 9 to 5 hours, are we still able to attend? So in general, we ask that you let us know of any regular appointments you might have. We understand sometimes people might have prior obligations, whether it's medical appointments, things like that. As we mentioned, the expectation is that 90% minimum attendance. If there is a regular appointment that is taking up, more than a day a week from the boot camp, that tends to be a pretty big limit in terms of applicants learning, just because like I mentioned, it's fairly condensed. 9 weeks seems like a long time, but to learn, the foundations of a role, there's a lot of information crammed there, and missing out even 2 or 3 days can set you far back. So in general, we try to work around any appointments you might have. It's just how regular those are that kind of would decide if it would be possible to take place in the boot camp. Sophia, you're saying you're having trouble with the link for the group activity. It won't select a date and says there are no available dates in August. We've had we had some group task availability for booking for today. Those are all booked out. We will potentially be having some more group tasks next week, and once those are added, you'll get an email letting you know and inviting you to that session. Reem, you said during the interview recording, are we allowed to refer back to notes of points we want to make, or is that not allowed? Whatever helps you do the interview. So we understand some people like to take notes and refer back to those notes. In the interview itself, you have the opportunity to record your answer up to 3 times. So you'll get 3 attempts. And if you want to use those attempts to practice, take notes, and answer as best as you can, feel free to. Mod, you said you've emailed this morning about HireVue video interview. Can I reply? I will get back to you after this session to answer your question. Would this course help us sit exams and prepare us for CompTIA, A+, Security Plus, or any relevant IT certifications? What this course is designed for is to give you a general foundational background for IT support, and in general prepare you for those first line IT support roles. There isn't anything in there specific to say CompTIA or A+ or Security Plus. The goal is not to necessarily work towards those specific certifications. There will be some crossover, but in general, I wouldn't say I wouldn't apply to do this bootcamp with the goal in mind of using it to prepare for any of those certifications. This bootcamp is very much career focused, looking to give you the skills needed to get into that support role, not to prepare you for any additional certifications off the bat. Akbar, you've asked if on universal credit and receive it during the course, would we continue getting it after the 9 weeks bootcamp has finished, like until we are able to get employed in an IT role? Yep, Akbar, that is correct. If you're on universal credit, you will receive it for the duration of the bootcamp, and you'll continue to receive it during that 6-month placement phase as well. You'll just have that additional support alongside your regular one-to-one work coaching. Satanic, you mentioned about having therapy appointments between 2 to 3 p.m. on Thursdays. So in general, that would probably be a little hard to have some flexibility around. But what we can do is if you send me an email, I'll just drop it in the chat again. If you send me an email afterwards, I can look into your application and we can kind of see what we can do there, if we can find some flexibility. If there's moments when someone's internet was down during the course, will the lessons be recorded to look back on what was missed for cases like that? Yep, Tiago. All the sessions will be recorded, so you can always refer back to them in your own time and review them. Cameron, you've asked if we don't do well on the HireVue interview, will we not get an offer for the training? So in general, there are limits to how many people can be on the bootcamp. We always intend to send out between 25 to 27 offers. And of course, we get more than that in terms of applications. If someone is unsuccessful during the higher view interview stage, they wouldn't be invited for the follow-up. They would get an email with some feedback and just to let them know of other resources available to them. So you've asked, during the 9 to 5 session and it's 3 p.m. time for a school run, can you go and return to the session later? If you have a school run around that time, as long as it's not too much time out of the session, usually within 15 to 30 minutes should be okay. There can be an exception made just because there usually is a break around that time. But again, any longer than, say, an hour at a time, and we start looking into maybe too much time being lost. Reem, you've asked, because we have 3 tries to record, is there an expectation that our answers are polished, concise, and to the point? That's right. So on average, we advise 2 to 3 minutes to answer each question. That's just to ensure that the answers you're giving are concise, but still contain everything you need to have. So in general, most answers tend to have 2 or 3 key points they focus on. If you're finding that it's on the shorter side, just try to expand on those points as best as you can without panning it out too much. But you've pretty much nailed it there, saying polished, concise, and to the point. We want to have the best idea of yourself as an applicant. So your motivations, what you're hoping to get out of the boot camp, your background, those are all important to us. So the more information you give us there, the better. Don't the job center make you go for a signing day once a fortnight? It's an half-hour walk each way. J3420. I think in general the job center does make an exception when people are on the boot camp for those signing days to not have to be doing that every fortnight. And that's for the duration of the boot camp, just so that you aren't missing out on anything. Hey, Adam, you've asked, will we get an IT support certificate towards the end of the bootcamp? So in general, we do offer a certificate. I would need to get back to you on what that specifically is. I believe, yeah. I don't have that information right away, but I can send you out an email after this session to let you know, as well as anyone else who might need it. You also asked, how do we get through the cybersecurity after the course? So we do want people to be aware that cybersecurity is a small component of this bootcamp. It's only 1 week out of the 9 weeks. And in general, we are finding cybersecurity roles are very rare at the entry level. If you're interested in a cybersecurity role, it's very much a long-term prospect. So keep that in mind. If you're doing this bootcamp just for the cybersecurity aspects, that you likely won't, you'll find it lacking in that regard because it's not a focus on cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is an addendum to building a foundation in IT support. Adam, you've asked if we support with a laptop. We do provide a laptop, webcam, as well as a Wi-Fi dongle if needed for the duration of the bootcamp. Jinx, you've asked about flexibility for school pickups if the same applies to the morning run. That is right. If generally there is some flexibility for morning and evening pickups for school. Like I said, 15 to 30 minutes for the school drop-offs is completely fine. You mentioned their child school opens at 8:45 and you'd be able to log in by 9. Absolutely fine. That's not a problem at all. And every day short, you've asked about picking up child from childcare at 4:30 on Tuesday and Thursday. Would it be a problem to leave early on these days? That would likely not be a problem if you are successful with your Highview interview. That's something that you can always bring up in the support conversation as well, just to make sure that we are aware of that and we can see what flexibility we have there. Akbar, you've asked, after the bootcamp, would we be able to apply for IT roles ourselves as well? And would we be able to get any work experience after the bootcamp? Absolutely, you are still able to self-apply for IT roles. We do not restrict you on the kind of work you can apply for after the bootcamp. And in fact, if you find a role that you're really drawn to, you can always bring that to us, and we'll support you with applying for that role. Whether it's helping you tailor your CV to that role specifically, helping you prep for interview, and that's true of any role that you bring to us. Adam, will the Job Centre support us while the full-time course? Yeah, for anyone who may have not been here earlier, you will continue to earn your, whether you're on universal credit or any benefits you may be earning, you continue earning those while on the boot camp, as well as during the 6-month placement phase. Andy, you've asked, are Linux systems covered in bootcamp? I do believe there are some Linux. There is some Linux covered there, but it's not too big of a focus, I believe. J3420, if someone has already done data and software engineering bootcamps and you have to apply for 5 jobs a week during the placement phase, do the applications all have to be in IT jobs? The applications wouldn't need to all be in IT jobs. If you have done data and software engineering bootcamps and you think that there are roles in general tech roles that you think would be good for you, you're always free to apply to those. Robert, you've asked if for the application process, do we accept provisional license? In general, provisional license wouldn't work for an ID. We would look for a, if you're a UK citizen, it would be a passport or a birth certificate along with your national insurance number. The passport, if you're a UK citizen, can be expired. Adam, you've asked, will it be difficult to get hired as an IT support operative following the course? That's a kind of nebulous question in terms of this kind of depends on how committed an applicant is following the bootcamp and during that application process. So in general, as I mentioned earlier, the more committed an applicant is during that stage, usually the better and the faster the results they see are. We are finding the roles are out there for entry-level IT support roles, and graduates have been successful in getting to them, but usually, they have to be willing to work closely with the placement team. Okay. Any other questions, guys, just before we wrap up? Jinx, you've asked if for any reason we're running late or absent and can't get to our PC to let us know. Is there a contact number or any other way that we should choose to let you know? Yeah, this will all be covered if you're successful getting on the bootcamp during the onboarding, but you will have ways to communicate with the instructors as well as the support team. So you can always reach out to them and they'll have your contact as well if they need to reach out to you. Akbar, you've asked, do we get access to learning and course materials after the bootcamp finishes? So all the bootcamp courses and sessions will be recorded, and any external materials you'll still have access to following the bootcamp. Taha, you've asked, you're new in the field and you have zero idea from where to start your journey to know about penetration testing. So in general, I think you're referring to penetration testing for cybersecurity. So as I mentioned earlier, there is a cybersecurity component on this bootcamp. But if you're specifically looking to get into cybersecurity and penetration testing, we would likely refer to other online resources that are more directly related to that. The cybersecurity aspects of this bootcamp is just 1 week of the full 9 weeks. And in general, we want to build an overall strong foundation in IT support, not just cybersecurity. Adam, you've asked how can we get a laptop? So if you're successful, once you receive an offer, you'll be asked to fill out a tech request form. And in there, you'll be able to access any equipment you may need. And that will be sent out ahead of the bootcamp starting. Cameron, you've asked, can you do the higher view interview again? I don't think I have done good. Not to worry. So we will be reviewing the higher views. That is still ongoing. If we find that you would benefit from re-recording, we'll let you know and reach out. But in general, we tend to go from those first recordings. Zishan, you've asked roles like help desk analyst and IT support technicians. What is the ratio of remote/hybrid roles, and what level of support are available? I don't have statistics off the top of my head for the job market as is. We have been seeing more and more roles moving away from remote to hybrid solutions. Something to keep in mind that there's no guarantee of remote work in the field at this moment. Hybrid is certainly still a possibility, and we will always try to support applicants who might have preferences either way. But in general, if looking specifically for remote work, just keep in mind that this is not always a possibility. Adam, final outcomes will be sent out on September the 12th, so you'll know here on this date whether or not your application has been successful. And Kalaya, yep, similar to Cameron, we will be reviewing a high view and we will let you know. Okay, guys, I have to wrap up now, but if there are any more questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'll once again put my email down in the chat. This session is recorded, so you can always go back to it. If you missed any of it, feel free to. Otherwise, thank you all for joining. I really appreciate it. It was great to see some of the familiar names in the chat as well, and look forward to speaking with you again as we get towards the end of this application process. Thanks all.